Hello. This is Antje from Byte Shuffle. Thank you for always watching our videos. This time, I put together a guide on how to navigate and sideboard against Eldrazi when using the Painter archetype. The previous video was recorded before the ban update, but this one features gameplay after the ban. I may have done something absolutely wild along the way, but let's just pretend that didn't happen. The highlight is when I fake going for the Painter combo but end up winning with the Storm plan instead. Here is the deck list we will be using this time. Since I can start with an island and use draw sources to smooth out my hand, I'll keep this hand. Since my opponent is playing Stompy, I'll use hand disruption early to remove key threats while it's still effective. Here, I was torn between Once Upon a Time and the One Ring, and I ended up removing Once Upon a Time, but I should have taken out the One Ring instead. Since I'll get completely locked out by Wasteland, I really don't want to do this, but I'll cast Ponder off Lotus Petal to search for a land. I stacked Thoughtseize, Polluted Delta, and Misty Rainforest in that order, then drew a card. Nice top deck. The earlier misplay with hand disruption is really coming back to haunt me. The Surveil effect leaves the card on top of the library. I'll play Wishclaw Talisman preemptively. And with that, the adventure came to an end. Before sideboarding, I'd like to review the list we used. First, the conclusion. I will explain it step by step. Here are the cards from Eldrazi that are relevant to ANT. Since I explained this in detail in the previous pre-ban video, this time I'll just highlight the key points. First, regarding the effect of Thought-Knot Seer, it's similar to being hit with hand disruption. Since this deck aims to chain spells together for a storm win, its structure is inherently weak to hand disruption. Therefore, whether you can split your combo into multiple parts becomes a key factor during the game. Next, the opponent will interfere with your graveyard using cards like Leyline of the Void and Fairy Macabre. As mentioned in the deck guide video, Painter's Servant turns all spells into colored spells. Eye of Ugin and Eldrazi Temple only provide benefits for colorless Eldrazi spells, so they won't be effective when Painter's Servant turns everything into a colored spell. Therefore, I'll include the Painter package. For sideboarding, I'll remove the core cards mentioned in the deck guide video. Next, against artifacts like Disruptor Flute, Chalice of the Void, and Null Rod, I'll counter them by bringing in Wear Down, Abrupt Decay, and Echoing Truth. I'll remove Veil of Summer and Reign of Filth, as they don't have much impact in this matchup. Next, regarding Forest. The opponent can use Sowing Mycospawn to remove 2 of my lands. To prevent the opponent from effectively using Sowing Mycospawn, I'll include a Forest. Next, regarding Kozilek's Command. This card can deal with Painter's Servant. Additionally, the opponent might bring in Mindbreak Trap, so I'll deal with it using hand disruption, but hand disruption is generally a weak strategy against Stompy decks, so I'll reduce the number of Thoughtseize, lowering the total hand disruption in the deck from 6 to 5 cards. Everything except Painter's Servant is in my hand. I'll fetch a Surveil land with my fetch land and aim for the Painter combo, so I'll keep this hand. I'll play Lion's Eye Diamond and Grindstone preemptively. I'll use hand disruption to scout ahead. At this point, seeing 2 null rods in my opponent's hand filled me with despair. Instead of reading the card text carefully, I somehow started receiving weird signals, wondering what would happen if I activated Grindstone against a deck with only colorless cards. At this point, I figured, I'm probably going to lose anyway if I don't draw Painter's Servant next turn, so why not experiment? I'm going all in. From here. Top decked the answer. Problem solved. I kept this hand without much thought, but I probably should have mulliganed. Chalice of the Void is set at x equals 0. I'll search for a tutor. I couldn't find it, so I'll shuffle my library. Since Null Rod and Chalice of the Void, x equals 0, are in play, I'll cast Brainstorm to either find an answer to the permanence or decide whether to pivot to the Storm plan. I put back 2 copies of Polluted Delta. The Surveil effect sends the card to the graveyard. Depending on what I reveal here, I'll decide which route to take. I stacked Boseiju, who endures first, followed by Lion's Eye Diamond. I'm going all in. From here. Since I've switched to the Storm plan, I'll search for shenable spells. Infernal Tutor will be used not as a combo ignition point, but as a card to build up the Storm count. With enough Storm built up, I'll cast Tendrils of Agony. Lastly, I have an announcement. I'm posting the concepts behind the images used in my videos, as well as small flavor-inspired stories, in the YouTube community section. Additionally, I'm selling merch for the channel through the link in the description. If you're interested, be sure to check it out. Thank you for watching up to this point. I apologize for the many play mistakes. I hope to improve at MTG together with everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a thumbs up. See you next time. This is Antya.